What's up, everybody? I'm Ryan Thomas, the host of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, bringing you another episode of the show tonight, a post-game live reaction to one of the worst officiated games I have ever watched as a football fan. This is absolutely, full disclosure here. Disclaimer. This has nothing to do with me being a Bills fan. This has everything to do with the game of football itself, the NFL, the Shield, the game itself, the game of football, the sport of football. That was single-handedly the worst officiated game I've ever watched in all my time of watching football. I've been on this earth for 24 years. And I haven't watched football for 24 years, but I've watched football for probably, since I was 6 or 7. So, one of the worst games I've ever watched as far as officiating. It was an entertaining game, but the officiating was so bad. And it was led by none other than Richard Sherman. And, let me go back a little bit and do a little brief history lesson with Richard Sherman. This guy's claim to fame was screaming into a camera while being reported, while answering questions from a prominent female reporter, Erin Andrews, after a clash with the San Francisco 49ers, where he was going up against Michael Crabtree, and the famous line was, I'm the best cornerback in the game. Don't you ever talk about me. When you put a sorry receiver like me, or when you put a sorry receiver like Crabtree on me, that's the results you're going to get. And, just screaming into the camera. And it got him so much attention, that he was this embattled player that wanted to prove that he was a fifth-round hero, and he should have been drafted higher. He was disgruntled and things like that for being disrespected, and he had the "you mad bro" thing with Tom Brady and all that stuff. Really, I thought initially when Richard Sherman came into the league, I thought that he was a good guy and I thought that he was a good player. After tonight's game, I have no doubt in my mind that Richard Sherman is not only not the player that I thought he was in terms of being a great player. He, along with Ndamukong Suh, are two of the dirtiest players that I have ever seen play the National Football League game, play at this high of a level in my lifetime. Obviously, you can add in a lot of other guys like Rodney Harrison and a bunch of other guys. But within this generation, within the last 5 years' time, Richard Sherman and Ndamukong Suh are right there. And Suh is regarded as the dirtiest, but Richard Sherman is right there. There was the obvious blatant pass interference call that was made on Julio Jones. That wasn't made on Julio Jones. Richard Sherman blatantly interfered with Julio Jones from catching that pass. And it was the final play of that game. And that was in Seattle, I believe. One of the worst officiated Monday Night Football games was between the Seahawks and the Packers with the replacement refs. That was one of the worst officiated games in NFL history. It is even was featured at one point in the Monday Night Football game intro. It showed like a cartoon version of it, or like a holographic version of it, I think maybe last year. And that was a pass interference play by Richard Sherman. And then tonight, it all starts off with the Buffalo Bills needing to kick a field goal in order to inch closer. It was 28-17. Buffalo drives down the field. They're in field goal range. They go to kick the field goal, and Dan Carpenter goes to kick it, and Richard Sherman blatantly runs into his left leg, which is his non-kicking leg, and didn't even target the football, didn't even go to block the football. So it was a blatant, dirty play, and the refs decided that he was a safe enough player to stay in the game. But Roger Goodell preaches the message that player safety is the way, and that the NFL is turning a new leaf, and we're being progressive towards player safety. Wrong. You're wrong, Roger. You're not doing a damn thing. If anything, you're doing the opposite. You're picking and choosing on a case-by-case basis as to what is safe and what isn't safe. You need the rules. The rules have changed, but they have changed for the worse. The rules are not conducive to the actual situation. Guys are complaining that they're getting hurt. Guys are complaining that they're getting hit, like Cam Newton. Cam Newton's complaining that he's getting hit. I know that he's getting hit hard, and I know that he's getting hit often, but that's because the team that he's playing on is massively underperforming. Why not look within yourself as far as that being the problem? And maybe the hits won't come as much. You know, that's my mini take on the Cam Newton thing. But back to Richard Sherman. This guy blatantly tried to hurt the Buffalo Bills starting kicker for a long period of time, maybe his entire career. He tried to take this guy out of the game so Buffalo would not have a chance to kick the field goal. And then there was a situation where, you know, the Buffalo Bills couldn't have Dan Carpenter on the field for the next play, so they spiked it, and you know that was the next play, and then the play clock didn't reset, or I don't even know. I honestly don't even know what happened there. Why was the play clock still running down from the play before? It was a complete, for the lack of a better word, it was a cluster. You know what? It really was. And you know, I do have to give credit where credit's due. That's my saying. That's my mantra. I preach it. You know, Tyrod Taylor played really well tonight. He stepped up big time. He had a terrible throw, a horrible throw, a confidence-killing throw. And he came back the next drive and looked really good. I will give him the credit in that, for sure. Do I think he's the franchise answer for the Buffalo Bills? I don't. I really don't. But I will say that he did what he needed to do after that interception. After that play, he came back into the game with his head on straight. And I want to mention, too, the final play of the game was a 4th and goal play for Buffalo. 25-31 ended up being the final score. 25-31 was the score on this final play, obviously. And Tyrod rolled out to the left, threw it to Robert Woods, who was in like the right center of the end zone. And on the far left, or actually on the far right, you'll see Richard Sherman just engulf Marquise Goodwin and throw him to the ground. And there was no pass interference play, and Marquise Goodwin was hurt on the field. And Marquise Goodwin was notioning for a flag, and the ref waved it off and waved the game off. That is 2 cases this season in the officiating of the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, and a case on Monday Night Football with the Green Bay Packers a few years back with the replacement referees. And you know, I thought of all of this on the drive home. You know, I went to the bar, I went out with my friends to watch the game, and it just popped into my mind, like, this has happened before with this guy, which means he's a dirty player. He's not the best. He's not the best. Put anybody else up there. It's not him. If the best has to play like that, then he's not the best. It's just that simple. I would put Darrelle Revis over him at this point, even though Revis has lost a step. He might not be what he once was. Revis plays within the lines. You know, plays to the rules of the game. Richard Sherman showed no respect for the opponent, showed no respect for the coach by running at him after the interception, running towards him after the interception, which should have resulted in a penalty right there. That is taunting. He can run to the referee, he can run to the coach, taunt him. But if Robert Woods puts the ball out for a first down, that is unsportsmanlike conduct. I mean, the refs literally took this game away from the Buffalo Bills, and I'm not just saying it because I'm from Buffalo, I'm not just saying it because I'm a Bills fan, but every ref on that officiating crew deserves a one Buffalo punch to the groin. Every single one. Because that was a robbery. That was completely unfair, and it was bullcrap. And for ESPN's own commentating crew, McDonough and Gruden, to call it like it is and say those things, say that the officiating decision was terrible, and he didn't understand the call with Dan Carpenter, and he didn't understand why Richard Sherman ran at Rex Ryan like that. If one of the players I was playing against ran towards my coach to stare him down after he made a big play, that'd be the last big play he'd make of the night, and I will just leave it at that. He would be out of the game. And you know what, guys? In this sensitive 2016, you guys might say, that's a little too much. That is football. You go after my guy, you show up my coach. I go after you, I show up your coach. The Vontaze Burfict thing, yes, it was dirty. Yes. But that was a long brewing battle between the Steelers and the Bengals, and it came to fruition in that game where the Steelers were making hits, the Bengals were making hits, and then Adam Pac-Man Jones made his hit. So this is common. This does happen. Guys go after other guys. Why do you think Cam Newton is getting hit to the extent that he is right now? Because he was dabbing last year. He was dabbing to a 15-1 record. And now that he has had trouble this season, now that the Panthers have had some hard times, he's complaining about the hits adding up and that he needs to talk to the commissioner. Roger Goodell is as out of the blue as anybody. You don't know what you're going to get with this guy. You don't know where his mind is at with certain issues. We still don't know. And he's been the commissioner for almost 10 years now. So when is it going to change? And to top it all off, this game is terrible. As an American, knowing that I have to go wake up and vote tomorrow for two of probably the worst presidential candidates of all time, knowing that one of the most corrupt individuals in American history is likely going to be president in Hillary Clinton. And this is a sports podcast, and this is a 100% football conversation. But it just adds into the fact that this country is the way the thinking of the people that run multi-billion-dollar industries like the NFL, like Roger Goodell and the Hillary Clintons of the world. They do not have the mentality to be in charge of people. And I have that same feeling about Roger Goodell. I feel as if he doesn't have the mentality to be in charge of 32 teams and 32 times 53 amount of players. So the 1,696 NFL players. One guy plays as dirty as anybody I've ever seen. And throughout that entire game, there wasn't one flag thrown on him. But the game wants to be safe. The game wants to protect players from head issues. He made a lot of head-to-head hits tonight. He did a lot of head-to-head hits tonight. There were a few where he would go to tackle someone and roll over him. It was really bad. It was really bad, and I'm embarrassed to have to know that the team I root for had a game taken away from them in the 2016 National Football League. They should bring better results for the brand in which they, proclaim themselves to be. They proclaim that they're the best league. Well, finally show it. Finally show that you're the best in the league. Finally show that that's what you're capable of.